Ever found out that there was a private office group chat that you weren't a part of? Or maybe you worried that a casual rant about another colleague might make its way back to them? Like it or not, gossip is part of office life. It builds friendships, affects reputations, and sometimes even careers. So, where is the line between harmless workplace chatter and something more damaging? Welcome back to the Work It podcast. My name is Nat, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Gerald. But we also have gracing us on the Work It couch today, our producer Ho Pei Ning. Welcome to the Work It couch, Pei Ning.
Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
So interesting to be here.
It is very interesting to have you here because you're usually behind the cameras. But I did think, Gerald, that this was a good time to get her on because we need more varied perspectives on today's episode where we are
Yes.
talking about gossip,
Definitely
right? So, Pei Ning, you usually are the one who produces these, and I just read what you put on the script for me. So maybe let's have you bring in the first thread that someone's talking about office gossip on Reddit today.
This person is saying that recently I found out that some of my female colleagues have a private group chat where only the single women are included. From what I know, the chat is mostly them judging males' colleagues' appearances, behaviors, status, and even family background.
Wow.
Gerald, what would you do if you found out that among your colleagues they had a private group chat just about you?
Wow. If that was me involved, definitely won't be happy about it.
Yeah.
I'll be really concerned about why there's such a group chat, and also how I would start to be very self-conscious around the people that are there, especially the women who are in that group chat. Like how will I behave? Maybe I will stay away from them because that makes me start to feel like I'm being monitored. Yeah.
Right.
So personally, on a very instant reaction kind of a level, yeah, that's how I will feel. Yeah. But how about you?
I would probably just confront them.
You would confront them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because, okay, I've never been the subject of gossip before because I'm such a likable personality. But I have heard that people weren't happy with how I do certain things, and instead of coming to me, maybe they like flagged it to someone else. But when I hear these kind of things, I just go straight to them and I'm like, okay, I understand that you are unhappy. Let's try to like hash this out right now, get out of the way. Going back to this comment or this post on Reddit, this is different because they're not just talking about one person. The single women are talking about all the guys in the office.
Yeah, their appearances.
Yeah.
Right, and their behavior, their family background. I wonder, like, it's that. How does that affect the workplace? Like, how is a person's look? How they behave, how
How's
does
it
it
relevant to their
how is
work,
it
right?
relevant? Like, I'm just wondering, why would the intention of such a group, like, why would they want to do that?
So this is just clear bad and like HR reportable offense. Like these women are gonna get in trouble, you're saying.
Okay. So whether is it reportable or not, it's also another whole consideration to think about, right? If let's say the person finds out and then reports to HR has to step in to go investigate these group chats, then maybe the content itself becomes reviewed, and sometimes maybe it's just a slap on the wrist kind of a thing, warning, don't do this again. But that group chat could just take form in a different way later on. Yeah.
So they might just get better at hiding where they're having these conversations.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've heard of at least one case before where a person did report, and then on paper, on the surface, it looks like things are okay. They stopped doing it already, but you just have that, the person had a nagging feeling that it was still going on, but you just have no way to prove it after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, Pei Ning and I were talking about this earlier. There's something called the Barbara Streisand effect.
Oh, okay.
Where when you call attention to something and you say like, stop looking at this,
Ah,
more people will look at it.
Yes.
You're drawing attention to the thing you don't want to be seen.
But I feel that reporting it or bringing the situation to light might kind of change the conversation.
Right.
So now this person is no longer just a subject of gossip, but maybe they're a symbol for something else, that maybe the work culture has to change, that maybe there's something toxic going on.
Let's take a step back first and Pei Ning, I ask you, what actually is the definition of gossip?
Okay, so according to Cambridge Dictionary,
Okay.
basically gossip means that there are conversations or reports about other people's private lives that might be unkind, disapproving, or not true.
What constitutes acceptable forms of gossip? Or is all gossip not acceptable in the workplace, any form of talking behind someone's back.
If it affects like your strategy of how you're going to conduct yourself, how you're going to work together in a team better. And if it's constructive, then I feel that, okay, it's not so much gossip. But it still bothers me because I feel that if it's so closely related to my work, I could learn it by myself by working with said person or by finding out from my mistakes, right? But then when somebody tells me or feeds me the information from the past, it kind of colors my view, and I feel that it's going to make it become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
So if I hear that this person is difficult to work with, I get nervous around them, and they might get annoyed that you're nervous around them.
I would prefer to have that information actually. If someone tells me, gives me heads up about a person's behavior, I think I'll take it in as input and then I will consider it and evaluate for myself. Like, is this really the case? And you can swing both ways, right? If let's say this person says something and then I evaluate for myself, it's not quite the same, then I would start to form an idea about the other person who gave the feedback, right? Like, what's your intention? Why do you have to say it that way? Or maybe, this person just behaved that way to you, but not to everybody else. So I think there's some room for us to hear a little bit more about a person at the workplace, just so that we know how to maybe protect ourselves and also know how to work better with people, as long as it doesn't affect the person's personal and professional reputation. I
Right.
think that's important, right?
Okay.
I think work styles wise and how the person behaves at work, I think, yeah, it's very helpful. But if it starts going into like, this person's personal life, their marriage, how's it like? They always wear this, always wear that, then you'll be like, okay, not quite helpful lah. In terms of helping me to know how to work better in the workplace.
In this example, the conversations were happening in a separate private group chat where these men that were being talked about were not present. Does that make it more insidious, even if they were just talking about more work-related things?
The very fact that it's in a group chat actually makes it a lot worse because it's a digital form of information, right? So it means that you can send pictures, you can send screenshots, you can send videos. So it makes the storytelling a lot more real. And even if your narrative is fake, because you have all these little snippets to add on and to support yourself, right? It sounds like it's more valid. Versus if it's the old form of gossip, whereby, it's just around a water cooler.
It's verbal.
It's verbal.
Yeah.
It's very clear. It's a recount.
Would you vent about a colleague in a work chat? You would...
Just quietly, no. Never.
Gerald, have you ever? Would you consider doing that ever?
I wouldn't. I would vent to a person.
Okay.
Maybe a one-to-one on the chat,
Right.
expressing my frustration, right, working with this person, but probably not in a group setting, online, because I do feel like I don't know who else might be listening in, and I don't know what kind of relationships they have with that person. For me personally, I think that I don't know how far my message will go.
Right.
So I don't know whether what I say becomes perceived negatively, and then this gets out of the group, and then the other person who we are talking about knows about this, and then it becomes a personal issue with me, right? So I'll prefer to keep those comments to myself as much as possible, unless it's just to another person I really trust.
Yeah.
Right? Or if I'm sharing this as a venting or maybe as a lesson for everyone to learn, then maybe we've got to nuance it really, really carefully.
I've definitely had private group chats with like people the same level as me, like my colleagues, where
Without your
every
boss.
now and then, nobody's perfect. We will talk about our boss.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
I feel like it would affect the way you work with this manager.
Right. Okay, but what if the ask was like in similar nature? Somebody typed into the group chat a weather check. What's the weather like today? Then do you think?
Don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that's gossip. Yeah,
Okay.
that's reading the room. That's reading what's happening at the workplace. That's being smart about your work, you see.
But
Yeah.
if it was like an end of the day rant, like if I just
Over
came out of a
drinks,
meeting,
over drinks, everything comes out over drinks, right?
yeah. So should I stop doing that?
Then some people actually do enjoy that.
Yeah.
I do see people bonding over that, but they're bonding at the expense of that person that they're talking to.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen that as well. I've seen how teams become united because there's one black
There's a
sheep.
common enemy.
There's common enemy inside there, and then the team is just happy working together. and they're productive also.
I've been in a team like that, and honestly, it just made me feel a bit attacked, even though I was not the black sheep. So I've been in teams whereby they're really very family, and they have this like common enemy and like almost like factions. Like, yeah, they have rival teams, and they would gossip about the rival teams, and they're very protective about the people within their team. But I always felt that it made me feel, what if one day I was shuttled off to the other team?
Would you suddenly become the subject of the gossip?
Yeah, so it always filled me with a sense of like anxiety.
I think it would likely be so, yes, because those lines that are drawn, right, they are actually very tight. And if today you move across, I do believe that they will talk about you, may not. It would be harder a little bit for them, but I think it will still come up because people do want to resonate with certain identity. When you go to workplaces, the workplace is like a little family, right? And you resonate with the identity, the people that you work with very much. When I start to join the workplaces or join new workplaces, I have to be a bit more sensitive about these lines, right? And I have to also watch carefully, where do I hang out, who do I eat lunch with. Because sometimes I have ever heard before that I see you go to eat lunch with this other group very often.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then you start to realize that, is this a high school?
Yeah, that's like school, I was gonna say.
Yeah, correct.
I feel like that's kind of like immature, because
Yes.
maybe it's just my perception of work, but in a company, I don't. Okay, I love my team. I don't want to quit. I'm just saying, but like, if there are opportunities elsewhere in other departments within the company in an opposite team, I feel that I should go where best benefits myself, best benefits my work, right? And I don't want to restrict myself to like a loyalty to this specific team.
Because you just talked about how, you used to be in a team in which like gossiping was a little bit of the culture. Would you then report workplace gossip if you saw it taking place?
I want to.
Okay.
Because I feel that it's like my responsibility to kind of create or shape this workplace culture, right? It's not that workplace gossip is wrong, and it wasn't that it was particularly toxic either. But it wasn't a culture that I was comfortable with, and it wasn't a space in which I felt safe to grow.
If I were to speak for HR people, when they receive such input, they will often wonder what should they do with it. Because it takes a lot of work to go and open this whole thing up, which might be for nothing. And sometimes I find that some of the HR people I know, they prefer not to deal with this. They will just say, okay, noted. And then I don't know what does noted mean. Does it get noted really? Or does it just mean that I hear you and then that's it? And nothing gets done. So your objective of changing the system, right, it doesn't change.
So that's actually something that one commenter said on one of the threads that we were looking at, right? And they say, from a HR perspective, of course, we don't have the rights to ask for or check their phones,
Yeah.
but if it comes to our attention, we will send a reminder to everyone to maintain a respectful and professional work environment, and usually this will drastically reduce such behavior.
Drastically? You drastically
That was
go
what they said.
under table, just form new group chats, new ways to talk about it. That's all. These things usually come out as circulars, as very broad messages of workplace conduct, and it applies to almost everybody. So I don't know whether the perpetrator would even know that, oh, actually it's pointing me out and what we have been doing. I think everybody just thinks that it's okay, we just be more careful.
Yeah.
Be more careful what we say, but we will still say. We will still continue to share, because I do feel like a lot of times when we think about gossip and why people want to gossip, it can also be very personality-led. Like, there are people who really feel like they need to one-up people, and that they would go to great lengths to discredit another person, sometimes dishonestly as well, just so that they look like they know a lot and that they are credible and that they are better than another person. I personally feel like these kinds of work characters are just generally not good characters to have around the workplace. And I certainly hope you guys never met such people before.
On that note, because these characters do exist wherever we go, is there a way that we can protect ourselves from these gossip mongers?
There is. So there was this person who said, basically, just go on and just do what you have to do and ignore the haters. And quote unquote, this person said, a lion never loses sleep over the opinion of sheep.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
And I was like,
Bold.
wow.
So must put on the cap already, son.
Yeah. I personally think that there's a certain line, right, in which you can try and do the things like the way you want to do it and just ignore other opinions. But if it's really affecting you, I feel like you can take little steps to stand up for yourself. After hearing what Gerald said, right, I do think that maybe HR in that sense is a little limited in such very gray area issues. So what you could do is that personally, maybe you could just say, "Oh, I don't talk about this," or "I don't think so." Maybe
Right.
there are ways to shut down that conversation before it even, gets into something heavier.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if today I was a person who was affected, it'll be harder for me to raise it up because it's like I have to defend myself, right? But I find that if today I am not the person, but I am in the circle where I can see a person being unfairly treated, then I think it's more comfortable for me to speak up for that person. I can vouch for that person a bit more effectively. And then this is where I hope that maybe people who find themselves caught in these situations where they know that something definitely is not right about somebody is being said. And this person can maybe go out to the spreader and tell the person to stop doing this because it's not true. It'll be a lot more effective because it's calling out that person, and having a third person vouch may sometimes make the spreader feel like, okay, I'm being called out, I should stop this. Whereas compared to, like, if let's say the person who you have that personal agenda against, and that's why you're spreading all these rumors, right? And the person comes to talk to you, you're less likely to change.
I think it is true because usually when people gossip, there might be a lot of built up resentment as well. Yeah, so the fact that they have chosen a roundabout way instead of telling you, and you kind of expose them by telling them that, hey, I heard that you're talking bad about me. How dare you?
Yeah.
I think it kind of blows up into a direct confrontation.
Yeah.
It seems like, at least from this one example that I see on Reddit, that even taking the other approach, a more quote unquote bo chap spirit, would still attract even more gossip mongers to start centering around you. So this person said, been trying to keep my head low, mind my own business, and practice the quote-unquote bo-chap spirit to avoid unwanted attention. Even so, this has recently attracted the wrath of the gossip mongers, and the bo-chap attitude seems to aggravate them further. So
I really feel for this person, and these are stories I've heard before of so many people who say that they really feel that the workplace is not a good fit for them. It comes out like that, it's not a good fit, but then when you dig deeper into why is it not a good fit, you realize that there are people against them, people speaking up against them in the workplace, false things that are not true, and they feel very misunderstood, misrepresented. So it's quite sad because these people are actually quite competent. They may be very competent in what they do, and they do like their work, but it's because the environment they don't fit quite well in there, and that's the reason why they leave, right? And I think in certain cases when they leave, I think it's good for them as well, because at least it maintains their sanity.
Yeah. So I guess it is just a workplace culture issue. This one is not so much of, individual people, but it's the workplace has emboldened these gossip mongers to be very free with how they talk about other people.
It's easy to say it's the workplace culture, but truly it's the behavior of certain individuals that create this. And workplaces, they can give the HR culture, they can give certain directives to manage these things, but how do you police these things? How do you monitor these things? It's really down to the individual people. So like team managers, if today you know that your team members are doing something, you got to call them out and tell them to stop doing this because it's affecting dynamics within the team or across teams. I do feel like it's for the responsibility of every employee to be able to stand up and say, hey, that's not true, that's not right, you shouldn't say this, so that you kind of stop the gossip culture from emerging.
Is it more important in that sense then to take a more active role in stopping all these gossip mongers? So you were saying that there are certain characters and workplace culture can be shaped by certain more outspoken characters who are like leading this gossip train, right? So if you're on the opposite end of the fence, is it then you should also build up a party or a faction of your own, and then these are the people who don't believe in gossip, and then every time you hear gossip, you kind of like shut them down? Is that the approach that you should be taking?
From my observation, right, I've seen certain workplaces where there are people who are like that, but they're not factions, they're usually individuals. There are people who stay clear, and they are like, once they know that there's a gossip going on, right, they leave. I've seen at least I know one personal guy who has never spoken a single word of gossip in his life.
Wow.
And he's that kind of a person who made it very clear that I don't participate in these things. Sorry, once you all talk about this, I'm going to leave.
Wow.
But he's rare. But I do observe that, he really stays very professional in his work and he's capable as well. And people respect him for that as well. So I guess that is, if you want to really not play this gossip thing, right, then I think you really have to be the example yourself first. Don't participate in them. And then after that, start to maybe, remind people that don't do these things. Or even if you go down a certain line, in the group dynamics, everybody has a voice, right? You learn to pull it back from that from the direction of the conversation becoming destructive. Or start to pull it back to say, okay, guys, maybe we should stop here and maybe we should talk about like how to help this person instead.
Wow.
Right.
Rather than, I tell you, that's usually the time where the gossip dies because nobody wants to help the person.
They just want to
They,
talk
they
about
just
their
want to talk about the
experiences.
person, right? So that then after a while, maybe you find that you're not being invited to those conversations
Yeah.
anymore.
What if they immediately
Because
just kick you out of the group?
They'll
And
be
what if
like,
they
this
just
guy.
ostracize you? Then what do you?
That's why I said, would you rather be in such a group or not? At the end of the day, that's why I don't think it's a group against a group. It's just people who don't want to be in this. They are alone. Right? Maybe then that's where they hang out and then they all really have a good time because they know that they're hanging out for non-gossip reasons.
In a safe space.
Yeah.
Right. Pei Ning, is there anything more in the wisdom of Reddit that we could look at to maybe cap off this episode?
Yeah, so there was another comment as well. So this is another approach. So what this Redditor says is, I've come to learn that you can't control what other people say of you. What you can do is try to be a good person.
Wow.
Be generous in your compliments, remember names, right? Ask how have you been, include people who have been left out in conversations. And this way, when somebody speaks bad about you, all the other person can say is, no lah, this person, he's such a nice person. How can he be like that?
And I kind of feel like that has a double-edged sword as well. To be so nice, people also have something to gossip about you. Like, this guy is like unreal,
Yeah. So if you're too nice, people are like, there must be something under the hood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or rather, they will feel that you are so you're too perfect.
Yeah.
You're too good. And I feel that sometimes when you're good, overly good, right, that people also misunderstand your intentions.
Yeah. So I actually had a friend who was like that. And he really was such a nice person. He was the kind of person that you wouldn't mind bumping into at the end of a bad day on your commute home from work. If you bump into him, you're like, oh, actually, I don't mind talking to you because you make me feel good. He's the first person to say hi. He always says thank you. He's very quick to apologize. I've never seen him sad. He's always got a smile on his face. And yet, when we were in school, there were several people who would just make stuff up about him just to gossip about him. Because there's no way that someone that nice isn't hiding something.
Yeah. I know someone like that as well. Totally great guy, performs well, but somehow the colleagues don't like him. And they always find something to talk about him because maybe he's just too perfect. He's
Jealous,
just too good. They're jealous.
But is there like grounds to it? Is it because he's being too performative with his goodness? What if you are good but not overly putting yourself out there? Would that save you from the judgment of these people?
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Yeah. If you weren't so much in the limelight, it might be a way to go. But I guess that's where it becomes subjective, right?
Yeah.
If you are not in the limelight, are you also kind of not performing as well as you should be in your work?
I just find that gossip, people who engage in very toxic gossip, right, they have two targets in mind, right? The people who are successful and also people who are worse than them. So the people who are worse than them, they step on them to make them feel better. And then they also make themselves feel better by pulling somebody from the top.
Maybe if we could just have like one lasting word that you have based on our conversation so far to everyone who's listening or watching. Pei Ning, what do you have for all of our viewers and listeners?
Maybe what that comment said about just do your own thing and don't concern yourself with opinions of sheep.
Of sheep.
Yeah,
Of sheep.
said
Yeah.
angrily would actually make sense. If it's within your nature and you do feel that something is really not sitting right about this workplace culture, right? Do what Gerald said, right, about this person who managed to pull himself out of it and tell everybody, hey, I don't talk about this. I don't engage in this. Be the change you want to be. If you can't do that, be yourself.
Be the change you want to be. I feel like, Gerald, that's a really good point to end this on, and a good point to end Pei Ning's debut on the Workweek podcast.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now we want to hear from you. Have you ever caught your colleagues gossiping about you? Or do you thrive on spilling tea and need the occasional whispered rumor to keep your 9 to 5 a little bit more interesting? Let us know in the comments wherever you're listening from, or you can email us at cnapodcast@mediacorp.com.sg.
I'm Gerald.
I'm Pei Ning.
And I'm Nat. Remember, You can't stop others from talking, but you can live in a way that makes their stories impossible to believe.